Welcome everyone. Nhi and Chi are back. Thanks to the previous presentation, you guys have known some information about revolution, but that is not enough. Today, we will let you know about the Glorious Revolution and French Revolution. What are they? Let's begin. First and foremost is the Glorious Revolution, also called Revolution of 1688 or Bloodless Revolution. In English history, the events of 1688 to 1689 that resulted in the deposition of James II and the accession of his daughter Mary II and her husband William III. William III is the Prince of Orange and the Stadtholder of Netherlands. Stadtholder is a viceroy in a province. When a person ruled many different areas, they often could not take control of all of them at the same time. To deal with this problem, they would make a person a stadtholder of an area. That person would act as a ruler for that area. The stadtholder has total control of the area. After the accession of James II in 1685, his overt Roman Catholicism alienated the majority of the population. In 1687, he issued a declaration of indulgence suspending the penal laws against dissenters and recusants, and in April 1688, ordered a second declaration of indulgence can be read from every pulpit on 2 successive Sundays. William Sancroft, the Bishop of Canterbury, and 6 other bishops petitioned him against this and were prosecuted for seditious libel. The acquittal almost coincided with the birth of a son to James' Roman Catholic Queen Mary of Modena. This event promised an indefinite continuance of his policy and brought discontent to a head. 7 eminent Englishmen, including 1 bishop and 6 prominent politicians, wrote to William of Orange, inviting him to come over with an army to redress the nation's grievances. William's chief concern was to check the overgrowth of French power in Europe. Between 1679 and 1684, England's importance and the Emperor Leopold I's preoccupation with Turkish and advance to Vienna has allowed Louis XIV to seize Luxembourg, Strasbourg, Casale, and other places vital to the defense of Spanish Netherlands and German Rhineland and northern Italy. By 1688, a great European coalition has begun to form to call for a halt of aggressions. Its prospects depended partly upon England. Thus, having been in close touch with the leading English malcontents for more than 1 year, William accepted the invitation. Landing at Brixham on Torbay, November 5th, he advanced slowly on London as support fell away from James II. James's daughter Anne and his best general, John Churchill, were among the deserters to William's camp. Thereupon, James fled to France. William was now asked to carry on the government and summon a parliament. When this convention parliament met, January 22, 1689, it agreed, after some debate, to treat James's flight as an abdication to offer the crown, with an accompanying declaration of rights to William and Mary jointly. Both gift and conditions were accepted. Thereupon, the convention turned itself into a proper parliament of large parts of the declaration called Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights makes sure that the monarchy could not do the things that James had done. Under this document, if the king or queen wanted to have some standing army, raise taxes, make laws, or suspend them, they have to have Parliament's permission first. The choice of successor to the throne was also given to the Parliament rather than the king or queen. These new laws changed England from an absolute monarchy, where the monarch have power, to a constitutional monarchy, where they have not much more than a ceremonial role. A constitutional monarchy acknowledges that the monarch as the official head of state, but the real power is in the hands of the Parliament. The British system of the government has remained a constitutional monarchy ever since this time.
The next revolution was a watershed event in modern European history. The French Revolution began in 1789 and ended in the late 1790s with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. With this revolution, I will go through 3 parts: the background, the prelude, and the development. The first one, background. Like almost other nations before a revolution, France was in a really bad situation. The economy was then experiencing a stagnation. Such many uninhibited fields left and the faultiness of tools and procedures used in cultivation that led to the season loss, low productivity, famine in agriculture. Besides, the industry and trading was more developing due to the influence of the Industrial Revolution. Machinery was put into use. Along with that is the operation of some big ports such as Marseille and Bordeaux. However, these developments were constrained by the feudal regime. Moreover, the heavy taxation system was also a burden that the French had to stand. France at that time followed the monarchy. The king was the most powerful figure who held all the mastership. Farmers had to pay tax to the nobility or landlords. There were three estates existing in the society: the clergy, the nobility, and the third estate, which include farmers, bourgeois, and other types of people belonging to the middle class. As can be seen from the illustrated picture and the diagram, the third estate, who accounted for more than 90% of the population, were exploited savagely by the two estates above, the prelude to the revolution. In 1774, King Louis XVI came to the throne, and this event noted a downward economic spiral in late of the 17th century. 2 decades of poor cereal harvest, drought, ghetto disease, and skyrocketing bread prices had kindled unrest among peasants and the urban poor, followed by the unemployment of a number of workers and handicraftsmen. Many expressed their desperation and resentment toward the regime. A lot of small uprisings broke out, but they were extinguished right away. In May 1789, King Louis convened a States General, an ancient assembly, to solve the tax problem. If the States General could agree on a tax solution, it would be implemented. This tax solution essentially aimed to force the farmers to pay more taxes. Obviously, the Third Estate disagreed with the rules and regulations, realizing that its numbers gave it an automatic advantage. The Third Estate declared itself to the sovereign National Constituent Assembly. Within days of the announcement, many members of the other two estates had switched over to this revolutionary new assembly. On July the 14th, citizens of Paris stormed and eventually destroyed a prison fortress known as the Bastille. Storming the Bastille, a key event which marked the beginning of the French Revolution, is celebrated in France every July 14th as Bastille Day. Born as a royal fortress in the 14th century, its death symbolized the end of the monarchy and the birth of the modern French Republic. Moving on to the main part of this revolution, the development. In August 1789, the Assembly released the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, which established a proper judicial court and the autonomy of the French people. From this document, the slogan "Freedom, Equality, Humane" became renowned. In September 1791, the National Constituent Assembly was officially established. The first act of newly named National Convention was the abolition of the monarchy and the declaration of France as a republic. Although the National Assembly did succeed in drafting a constitution, a rift slowly grew between the radical and the moderate Assembly members, as the moderate Girondins took a stance in favor of retaining the constitutional monarchy, while the radical Jacobins wanted the king completely out of the picture. Outside France, some neighboring countries feared that France's revolutionary spirit would spread beyond French land. In response, they issued the Declaration of Peace. French leaders interpreted the declaration as hostile, So the Girondin-led assembly declared war on Austria and Prussia. On August the 10th, the Girondins led the citizens to overthrow the feudal regime and the Jacobins as well. In January 1793, the Convention tried and executed Louis XVI on the grounds of treason. In spring of the same year, despite the creation of the Committee of Public Safety, the war with Austria and Prussia went poorly for France, and the foreign forces pressed on into the French territory. British army and European fleet attacked the country. Then the Girondins betrayed. On June the 2nd, Enraged citizens overthrew the Girondin National Convention and the Jacobins led by Robespierre took control. Backed by the newly approved Constitution of 1793, Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety began conscripting French soldiers and implementing laws to stabilize the economy. For a time it seemed that France's fortunes may be changing, but Robespierre, growing increasingly paranoid about counter-revolutionary influences, embarked upon a reign of terror in late 1793 to 1794, during which he had more than 15,000 people executed. When the French army successfully removed foreign invaders and the economy finally stabilized, however, Robespierre no longer had any justification for his extreme actions, and he himself was arrested in July 1794 and executed. On August 22, 1795, the National Convention, composed largely of Girondins who had survived the Reign of Terror, approved a new constitution that created France's first bicameral legislature. Royalists and Jacobins protested the new regime, but were swiftly silenced by the army, now led by a young and successful general named Napoleon Bonaparte. On November 1799, a frustration with their leadership reached a fever pitch. Bonaparte staged a coup d'état, abolishing the Directory and appointing himself France's first consul. The event marked the end of the French Revolution and the beginning of the Napoleonic era. Although it failed to achieve all of its goals, its significance and effects can be denied. It put an end to the feudalism. The social order and contractual relations were consolidated by the Code Napoleon. The bourgeois and landowning classes emerged as the dominant power. It also unified France and enhanced the power of the national state. About the impacts, it established the precedents of such democratic institutions as elections, representative government, and constitutions. It foreshadowed the class conflicts of the 19th century, and it had an extraordinary influence on the making of the modern world. This brings us to the end of our presentation. In conclusion, these two revolutions, though occurring at different times, they have many things in common, such as the leaders were the bourgeoisie, the policy power was brought to the middle class, and foremost, it marked the first step of the republic in Britain and France. If you have any question, please leave a comment below and we will answer as soon as possible. Thank you for listening.